All right. Welcome to the FN Casual Podcast. Here's your host, Honksy and OP Sid.
What's
Today,
up?
my bad. I always do that. I just want to get straight to the fucking topics we just talked. I was
Yeah.
forget to have you say hello. Anyways, today we have a whole discussion basically on PlayStation, cause the other day I had seen this article that PS Now was going to be available for PC, and it seemed PlayStation was just this current gen. They just been on a roll, so I felt like we should have.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So, anyways, I wanted to have a whole podcast, or we decided to have a whole podcast dedicated to PlayStation, since we started our gaming with PlayStation, and we were still on PlayStation for all these years. So, we're gonna start off by just going with our PlayStation history and how we got to our consoles and how we just became loyal to PlayStation.
Cool. So let's start with you. How did you get introduced?
Um, well, my gaming career started with Nintendo, like probably a shit ton of people started with, right?
hmm
My age, especially Super Nintendo, and then the Sega Genesis, and then Nintendo 64, and then
Let's
when.
let's put some years on this so we can track it.
All right, so when I was, let's say, 4 or 5, so that would have been 95 or 96, where I got my Super Nintendo, and I played Super Mario. I can't remember which one it was, and when I was maybe 7, I was probably 8. And that's when I got my Nintendo 64. That's when I really got into gaming. That's when I saw the challenges you could really have with gaming. But I still wasn't gaming that hardcore. And then I heard about PlayStation, and I had friends who had a PlayStation, and I'm like, back then, it was just like the cassettes, the cartridges and
hmm
shit. And then so it was dope because it was a CD. It was a
hmm
fucking CD. I'm like, oh, this shit's so slim, right? I always thought the box looked ugly, but I'm like, it's so cool because it fits so much slimmer. It's not sticking out, or it looks so much sleeker. Anyways, I didn't get a PlayStation One until fucking it was way later, right? I was maybe
hmm
11, 10, and then by that time, my parents had already basically gotten me a PS2 when that came out, because I already had the PS1, and there's like, oh, we could just upgrade it, we sell that one, give you the new one, right? Because we like during that time I could just kind of ask for shit and they'll just give it to me.
That's cool.
And anyways, PS2 was like, it was crazy. Like, I can't.
You were just
It was crazy because having Super Nintendo was cool because games here and there. Nintendo 64, I was just like, oh, video games are really cool now. And then PlayStation and PS2 to me were like, I felt like the graphics were just like amazing at the time, right? I'm like
yeah.
the
The
turning
jump
on,
between
yeah, well, especially from 64 to something like PS2, the graphics were just like night and day. It was completely different, right? I was like, wow, this is so realistic. I'm like, no way can video games ever get better than this, right?
everybody.
Yeah, and I was just like 11, 12 years old, and it was just like the greatest fucking gift ever. Just like turning the PS2 on, hearing the chime, and
Yeah.
then seeing the logos and like all the squares like fly at you. You're just like, whoa! You're like, the fuck is, where am I getting myself into? It's crazy.
So
Yeah.
amazing.
And so the first game I played was Metal Gear, Metal Gear Solid 2, and it was fucking, that game was look amazing. I remember at times I was just looking at the environment. I'm just like, this is fucking gorgeous. But I never beat the game.
Mhm.
I always tell you that I always got stuck in the part where you have to save the president, right?
Yeah.
It's like very fucking early too. People always think like, wow, that's really early. And I was like, really? Because it didn't feel like it for me. Yeah, I sucked at Metal Gear. Um,
Yeah.
I found my niche in first person shooters though. So going into later, just like having PS2 for a while, I played Metal Gear, and not Metal Gear, Medal of Honor. and that's where I came up with my name Honksy, right? And
Let's tell a story about how that happened.
all right, well, so we had a gaming room. We had dedicated like theater, gaming room type of
A what?
situation. Theater. What?
Okay.
Theater.
It's because you always say theater.
Do I? No, I don't feel like I say theater.
Listen to this podcast when this uploads. Listen to how you said it the first time, and you'll get what I'm talking about.
Theater.
Anyways, let's move on.
Anyways, so we had that gaming setup, and everybody could just like walk in and out, right? And at the time, being young, you think like dirty jokes are funny, and so I thought it'd be funny to.
As everybody.
Yeah, immature shit, and I thought having a game save, right, as horny as like the profile name being horny would be funny, right? Because I could show my friends, because
which it is.
It is, people like, oh, which one's your file? And they say, oh, it's horny. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Right? And so I was typing out horny, and I got to and then my dad came in, and he was looking for something, right? And I kind of like froze up. I was like, oh shit, like I can't spell horny. I'm gonna get in trouble. He's like, what the fuck you doing? What are these games teaching you? And so at the time, I was just like, well, I can't spell horny, and he's just gonna think I'm weird because I just have ho up on the screen. So I just the closest letter was just N. So I was just like, I put N, and then X was like right next to it. I was like X, and then I was like, fuck it, just finish it with a Y. It's like, to me it means horny, but I just came up with this fucking weird name Honksy. And then after that, I just kept using it for everything. Yeah, so that just became my name. It's a completely made up name, but
it's original.
It's original, exactly. So that's cool.
100% original.
And so moving on, the next game that I wanted to really play, and that it wasn't just me. It was like all my friends that had a PlayStation. Everybody wanted to play this new game that was considered the Halo killer, Killzone. Right.
Woo!
And looking like that game just looked fucking awesome as shit.
My people.
Right. Like the cinematics are dope. The gameplay looked sick. The graphics looked sick. And once I got it, I got my hands on it and just played it. I was hooked. I was like, I love first person shooters. Like all my friends love first person shooters. Or we came to love first person shooters because of Killzone. And so through that, I just almost every first person shooter that will come out, I'll try to get my hands on it. And then
Did you ever play that game Black?
Yeah, I played that game Black.
What did you think about it?
It was like it was fun, but it's like I just kind of like ran through it, and I didn't really feel anything. It was like, it's a dope ride. It was kind of like a dope ride that you're just kind of like, yeah, that was cool, and you could recommend it to people, but you wouldn't really go back to it that much. It's like for a one-time game.
It's like Doom.
Yeah, it's like it's a cool experience for that one time, and that's it.
Yeah.
But
for those of you guys that don't know, Black is actually a first-person shooter developed by Criterion, the same guys that made Burnout Paradise and all those racing games. And it's pretty good.
Shit. Burnout was fucking dope. I remember that shit. Yeah. Burnout was so sick. Anyways, so like fast forward to PS3. I got PS3 when I was 17, pretty much like on my way out of high school. And that's when I heard like Killzone 2 has been in development for a while, right? And the whole time, like even before I even got a PS3, because the PS3 came out in 2006, I got mine in 2009, almost 2010.
What a weirdo.
Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't play games as much when I was in high school and middle school, right? So I was a skater. I was outside most of the time, and so. So you're
a creator. You're not a nerd.
I'm not a nerd.
You have no right hosting this podcast. What's up, everybody? My name's Austin.
Yeah, so like I didn't game a lot in high school. I just skateboarding was the thing at the time. And so when I got my PlayStation 3, all the games that I played were fun. Little Big Planet, Guitar Hero, and shit. But Killzone 2 was like the big fucking game. The game just looked graphically, it from the first one to the second one is just completely, like, again, night and day. It's just totally different. It just looked so fucking good. And I got it. I fell in love with it. I clocked in fucking who knows how many hours into the game. I probably have a couple months worth of playtime on that fucking game. And you know, like, through just how, like, I guess it started with, let's say, like, being like interested in PS1, and then that interest evolving into a general interest into like anything and everything PlayStation, to just completely fall in love with what PlayStation was doing with PS3, and then that just went on to, you know, where I'm at now with PlayStation. And I'm just loyal to them because they never really done me wrong. And you know, like, going into the next generation of consoles with PS4 and Xbox One, you know that I made the mistake of taking a route, the competitive route, and trying to really get into the competitive scene on console side, especially for Call of Duty. And that just didn't work out. And because the competitive side for Call of Duty was on Xbox, I had to get an Xbox One. And then, you know, like, you remember that time I was like really frustrated and didn't like where I was at. And so I just said fuck it and just got a PS4, and like most of that stress and like frustration just completely like left. And I was just like, yeah, dude, I made, that was a huge mistake getting an Xbox One. I should have just gotten a PS4. And, you know, fuck it, dude.
Cool. That's a brief history into Honxie's PlayStation journey. Well, for me, PlayStation started with me when, as with most things that start with me, I'm sure you guys have paid. If you guys have listened to the previous podcast, you guys know that I'm a Filipino immigrant to the United States. So my experience with PlayStation was started in 1999 with Final Fantasy VII. Of course, there's a Famicom and Super Nintendo here and there, and all that stuff in other people's houses and stuff like that. But my first real console that was for me was the PS1, and my mom bought it for me in 1999. Got Final Fantasy VII. Didn't know what the fuck I was really doing because I was really young at the time. I think I was like 7 or 8, something like that. Didn't really know what I was doing in 1999. Final Fantasy VII. All I knew was that all of my friends, because I kind of associated with older people, so all my friends that around the block kind of had that game and they were into that game, right? So I was like, all right, well, let's play it, whatever. Fast forward to 2001, somebody bought me for Christmas Final Fantasy 8 and 9 at the same time, because if you guys in the Philippines, we get games later, like way later, right? And even then, it was like one of those bootleg copies on DVDs or VCDs, as back then was, you know, that was where things were recorded on back then. And then 2002, Final Fantasy X, I got my PS2. It was awesome. I didn't really have anything to compare it to because everything that made it to the Philippines was a Japanese product. But I know that at that time, the original Xbox was already out. And you know, it was competing with the PS2 and all that. The main thing that I kind of want to preface this is that in the middle of those years, I was playing PC games. I was a huge StarCraft nerd. Tried to get in competitively. I mean, imagine a 10, 11 to 12-year-old trying to compete professionally and stuff like that. Or not professionally, but like in competitive leagues around the neighborhood. And back then, there were internet cafes in the Philippines are popular as all hell, right? Not everybody can afford a PC, a personal computer, so we would go to these things called internet cafes and rent out computers for an hour and a half at a time, right? I remember every day coming home from school and just like saving up a couple of bucks here and there, not even dollars, because like $1 in the Philippines is 40 pesos. So like maybe 10 or 20 pesos is like an hour, right? So put in a couple hours in StarCraft, play, stomp out the competition, get stomped out by competition, all that stuff. But I eventually found my way back to PS2 with Final Fantasy X-2, right? So like all the most obscure like JRPG games you can, not obscure because obviously Final Fantasy is not obscure, so probably the biggest JRPG of all time at this point, franchise. But in my circles, it was obscure. Anyways, fast forward to when I get to the United States, the PS3 was being advertised in 2005, right? There were so like E3 press conferences. They had the audacity to be like, you know what, we're gonna come out with. I mean, everybody remembers that press conference. You know, $599 US. You know what I mean? Like $600 PS3, and they're selling, you know, Ridge Racer, all that stuff. But I remember the thing about PlayStation that I remember the most is that it was complete fanboy loyalty. Like I didn't have anything to back up my claims that the PS3 was better. Just that all I know is PlayStation. I grew up with PlayStation, so therefore PlayStation must be better, right? So I'm not saying that my fandom for PlayStation started anywhere from rationality, right? Got involved with. I started working in the summer of 2006. While I was in high school, and by the time I started school, I had enough money for a PS3, right? Had enough money for a PS3. Begged my mom to get a flat screen TV because I knew that I needed a HD TV for a PlayStation. Got Resistance. Fast forward to 2009, the game of the century, the defining game for me came out, which was Killzone 2. I mean, and yes, I played Killzone 1 in 2005 on a PS2, but it didn't really capture my, like, it didn't have that, you know, like that, like magnetic factor to it for me.
That it factor.
Yeah, it didn't really grab me.
Right.
But when Killzone 2 came out, I remember I was so hyped for this game. I was like, it was worse than No Man's Sky hype. It was, for me, it was like, this is the game. This is it. This is gonna kill everything that Xbox is working on. Gears of War, Halo, fuck all of you. Right. Killzone is where it's gonna be at.
We're both in the same camp. I think a lot of people were in the same camp.
Yeah.
In that time.
And keep in mind when Killzone 2 came out, they had the most robust multiplayer experience that rivaled Halo. It really did rival Halo. Yeah. Because Killzone 2 had in-game tournaments, in-game clan system, right?
In-game currency.
An in-game currency that you can bet against other people. Mm-hmm. So basically, every team that starts off in Killzone 2 gets 1,000 Valor. Valor is just the in-game currency, right? So the goal is to be the team that has the most Valor, right? And the only way you gain Valor is by winning it in a tournament, right? So, but the crux about it is that anybody can set up a tournament and challenge other people, other teams, to compete in that tournament, right? So there'd be leaderboards in the game and lobby screens in the game where you can pick which tournaments you could attend, and they had time slots and it had commitments and all that. So it was very, very robust. And I remember getting involved with a team called AXP, and it was some kind of try-hard name. It was Annihilation Proclamation. And it was awesome because we started winning. And for me, I know this now because hindsight is 2020. I know this now that the only reason I was winning is because I just put in so much more time than anybody else. I had full control of I had full control of the controls. I was very nimble in the controls. Like I made the controller a part of me, faster than most. Right? That's the only reason I was winning. But we really, really started winning, and I got the taste of being the best because if you were around in the Killzone 2 scene in March of 2009, the number one team in that time was Annihilation Proclamation. It's number one. We held down that spot for a month. And during that time, I kind of had the taste of being the top of something, being the best of something in the world, right? For that month, nobody could dispute the fact that we were the best team, right? Nobody could. Fast forward to, everybody kind of fell off. People from the old clan kind of remade and all that stuff. Killzone 3, super hype. They got rid of some of the more robust aspects of Killzone 2, but they still had an in-game clan system, challenge system. No more in-game tournaments, but you can match make with other teams and all that stuff. It was kind of like the beginning of a ranked mode in games. Anyways, we made it to the top again for a few weeks, I think. But that's kind of like the history of PlayStation with me. Love PlayStation. I've bought every single PlayStation console that they've bought or they've come out with.
Wait, did you say we were at the top for a couple of weeks? It was a straight month, homie.
It was a month. It was awesome. It was a very good time. Made a lot of friends, and I guess the main thing about the PlayStation that kind of made me loyal is that I made some of my best friends on the PlayStation, like voice chat. Think about this: the PlayStation 3 didn't have party chat.
It didn't.
It did not have party chat. It had these things called voice chats and text chats. So that means whenever, like, you want to get into a voice chat, you can't do anything else. You can't play games. You can't watch movies. You can't do anything on your PlayStation except for be in that voice chat.
Yeah.
Right. And it was video chat, actually. Video chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool. But think about that, a bunch of people spending their time, and we would spend hours in these voice chats and video chats.
We would spend like way past our bedtimes at the time. Who tries to really quiet. Like we'd probably stay up until our Bluetooths would die, because back then, like headsets, like the whole headset rig thing wouldn't even be something you think about, because Bluetooths were just so common.
I remember it was just Bluetooth mics. Like some people wouldn't even log off the voice chat. They would just charge their mic and just like kind of sit there and just wait.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
It was
I felt like I was more social during those times, because I was forced to like actually talk to people a lot more than something like a party chat. Like party chat, once you find a group of friends, you just kind of stick with those people, and you just kind of just stay with those people, right? And if those people aren't on, you don't really feel the need to talk to anybody else, unless you're one of those people that like talking shit or just like troll or something. I don't know. PlayStation, anybody could like be fucking with you or try to be your friend, get to know you. Like you could have conversations with a complete stranger on a like on Killzone. Like Killzone 2 had that proximity chat thing for the enemy players, right? Not for your team. So like you could talk to anybody like on your team, and those games you had 16 players on your team versus 16 players on the other team. So the amount of shit talking that could happen, or the conversations that could happen, is a lot. Like I made a lot of friends back in Killzone 2. Most of them, moved on from because they're a lot older. But it was PS3 was a really fun time.
Yeah, but keep in mind though, PS3. So going into the next portion of the podcast is, the PlayStation at the time was playing catch up to Xbox 360, to Microsoft, because at the time, think about it, the Xbox came out in 2005, like holiday 2005, right?
Yeah.
Came out at $100 less than the PS3, which was. The PS3 was gargantuan. It was huge.
Yeah, it was a fucking big ass console.
I think, with the exception of the Xbox One nowadays.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the biggest home console ever released.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
It was huge, and it's heavy. And a PS3, it didn't have a lot of games at launch, so Sony was. Keep in mind, when the PS3 first came out, or when they were marketing PS3, PS2 was the dominant system. It was no question. It made sense for publishers to just make games for the PS2 because you don't need to make it on other games because you'll make your money on PS2 because it was so ubiquitous because of the DVD player.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody had one.
Fucking
yeah.
Course.
So, when PS3 came out, like Sony believed that like you'll get a second job for this, you'll make you'll make ends meet for this PS3 because records show that you're gonna buy a PlayStation device, right?
Mm.
That didn't happen, right? There were a lot of fans like me that bought it day one, would line up at Best Buy and stuff like that,
Right.
but we were few and far between. Because in order to be successful, you need to hit mainstream success, right? Anyways, PS3 and the PlayStation brand was struggling. They were humbled by a lot of hate on the internet, right? While the Xbox was just literally just, I don't think the PS3 ever outsold the Xbox until late 2012.
Right.
So pretty much by the end of the cycle, right? By the end of the cycle. Moving forward, a lot of people accredit the failure of Sony, failure of the PS3 is the third console curse, and that definitely hit the Xbox with the Xbox One, because I think the third console that Nintendo came out with was competing with PS1, and the PS1 like completely destroyed anything like Nintendo was coming out with. And so the third console curse is real, right? Anyways, the current generation of the PS3 and the PlayStation brand right now, I'm super excited about it because it's like ever since they've kind of hunkered down on we're for the gamers. Like we're not going to try to be your home media console anymore. We're not going to be, we're not going to try to conquer the living room by being your end all be all box, like what the Xbox is trying to do now, or what the initial marketing was for the Xbox One was. Remember it was supposed to be one device, one box.
Yeah, like right? the marketing back then, you could tell the backlash that they were getting at their press conferences was huge. It was like no one cares about having our consoles connect to our cable and being able to use like it's a cool idea, but the fact that was like that took a good portion of their conference and a lot of their marketing and just the gaming. Like it was like they expected everybody, just like how Sony expected back then with the PS3. Oh, you're gonna buy an Xbox because you know how good of an experience you're gonna have from the 360, right? So that third console curse. I don't know if it's a third console curse. I think it's more when they have, or both companies have experienced now, is that when they had that one hit console, they're just like, holy shit, this is huge. Like next console, we could pretty much do anything. Like we
can get away with more things.
Yeah, they got cocky and they thought that people were just gonna buy whatever brand they put on it, and that wasn't the case. Like I bought I love PlayStation. I was loving the PS2, and then when the PS3 came out, I didn't buy it until like 3 years later because like there was no games I was looking forward to, and the price tag was too huge. Like that was. I'm like, I'm not gonna go shove out like $600 for that, and I don't want to get an Xbox too. So I was like online as well. Like all the backlash that Sony was getting with the PS3 as well. I'm like online without a PlayStation 3, and I'm like trying to defend it, not knowing like absolutely nothing because I don't have it. Yeah. So I'm just like throwing shit out there. But
yeah, no, I was the same way. But the thing that I love about Sony now is that they've made a switch to the gamers and all that stuff, but it seems like they get it. Like they understand what the gamers want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, their focus and a lot of it when it was first PS4 was announced and all that stuff, and then
Mhm.
every other conference there was a huge, like, you could tell, like, the shift, like their focus was largely games, especially the last conference this year. It was
Mhm.
like, remember we were just like watching and we're just like, dude, they're like,
Yeah.
we're watching just trailers and gameplays like back to back to back, and then anything
Yeah.
that was like, oh, we have this other service that you might want, but that was like at the end, so it's just, it didn't take up that much. It's just like, we have games,
Mhm.
but it could also do all this other shit just in case you forgot
Yeah.
that Xbox One like was marketing like so hard at the beginning. They're
Yeah.
trying to shove down your
Yeah.
throats.
If you think about it, the way that Sony was trying to conquer the living room back in 2006 was the same rhetoric that Xbox One had in the beginning of 2013 when the consoles were coming out.
Oh yeah,
Like
the
it was,
whole Blu-ray
yeah.
HD.
Yeah.
What was it? HD DVD or HD fucking home video? Where the fuck it was?
HD DVD. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Blu-ray
like the
one.
Blu-ray one, obviously. PlayStation Nation, and I remember that was like one of the hugest things that I was able to get my family to buy a PS3. Like that was like one of the biggest reasons. Like, well, Blu-ray is gonna be huge. Like I guarantee you, it's gonna be huge. So like, it'd be cool if we could, because we had an HD TV at the time, but we didn't really have anything to like complement it. And I'm like, well, if we get a PS3, then you know, it'd be fucking cool. And you know,
Yeah.
that was one of the
I'm pretty sure everybody like kind of made that argument.
Yeah.
I certainly did. With my mom, because I had the money for the console, but I was like, Mom, you know, I'm gonna have a PS3. You know what's cool with a PS3 though, because it's gonna have a Blu-ray player, Mom. And in order to take advantage of a Blu-ray player, we need an HD TV. And dude, my poor mother, I made her buy a $1,300 32-inch TV. $1,300, guys. $1,300 for a 32-inch Samsung. 720p too. It's not even 1080.
Oh fuck! Back then.
2007, man. 2007.
Yeah, back then when everything was, the flat screens were coming out. That was a crazy time. Everything was.
Yeah.
Like just looking back at it now, it's just like, holy shit, we were nuts.
Now a 32-inch 720p TV, probably get that for like $50. Yeah. So, do you have any other comments about the current and past generation? Because I mean, I feel like Sony's headed on the right track.
Yeah, I think as a company, I think as just like as a looking at it as a home console, there's a lot to be said, as in like how they're able to turn such a shit situation and slowly turn it, and then once they saw the opportunity to really take over, they just did it. They just fucking went in and they're not stopping. And Xbox One, like, you know, if you talked to me when I was 16, 17, I'd be like, fuck Xbox, you know, fuck you, dude. Fuck Microsoft, y'all suck. You don't know what you're doing. But, you know, looking at it now, it's like there's things that Xbox gets right that Sony or PlayStation doesn't get right, you know? And there's certain things that they both do that the other doesn't. But Xbox is suffering so much more now, it seems, compared to PlayStation, because the way PlayStation is just hammering at them like over and over. Nothing that Xbox is doing, like they'll come out with something, something that they'll come out with that you're like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. PlayStation's like, oh yeah, we got that shit too. Like, you know, like they're just firing back. They're not letting Xbox breathe at all. And I feel like in the future that it's gonna be just Nintendo and PlayStation again if Xbox can't come back.
But see, here's the thing. I agree with you to some extent, but here's why I think that's not necessarily going to be the case. Xbox One is doing horrible compared to the PlayStation because the PlayStation is just such a runaway fucking success. The PS4 is doing better, is tracking better or similar to the PS2, which is insane. Think about it this way, like, if you look at the numbers for Xbox One, it's actually doing like better than when the 360 was coming out. When the 360 came out, its trajectory towards its lifetime, right? If you compare it to Xbox One, at this point in time in the Xbox One's in the 360's lifetime, the Xbox One is doing better already. Like it's selling more. It's selling more than the 360. But when you compare it to PlayStation, to PS4, they're getting shitted on just because the PlayStation 4 is like, it's a ubiquitous success. Everybody wants to get a PS4, right? Everybody got a PS4. Everybody is getting a PS4.
Yeah.
Right? Because it came out at the perfect price point, right? It had a lot of it had a lot of first party support, so a lot of games that came out in it as a launch title.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are like, fucking the greatest, as with all launch titles, but they are solid games.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost the strongest launch lineup in history.
Yeah, like everything about the PlayStation, just like the slim form factor of the console itself, just looking at it to the brick that is the Xbox One, like just comparing it to, like, you've seen it, you've been to my house, you've seen that shit. It's huge. When I used to have it.
I sell Xbox Ones.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking big, and it used to take up like a large portion of my desk. Like the PlayStation, it's like, it's almost like I don't even notice that it's on my desk just because how slim it is.
Yeah, it just looks like a couple of textbooks.
Like, just like, I think everything that PlayStation has done this generation with the PS4 is just a positive. Like,
yep.
I can't even remember the last negative thing. Like, I'm sure there were. I just can't think of it right now. Where I'm just like, oh, that's not cool.
That's the thing. Like, there's always, ever since 2006, there's always been a Sony blunder.
Yeah.
Right. So with the PS3, it was the price point beginning, right? In the middle of its life cycle, it was the hack, right?
Oh yeah.
Or that one, I think 2008. It was 2008 that had, like, the only exclusive it came out in 2008, I think, was Metal Gear. So, like, everything else, like, and that was one of the Sony blunders. With the Vita, with the handheld, right? It looked like everybody looked on board. The perfect price point, touchscreen, dual sticks, triggers.
Yeah.
Pretty to look at, and then the memory cards were fucking expensive as shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's always been a Sony blunder, right? When the PS4 came out, that's why it's such an anomaly. They haven't made a fucking mistake yet.
Right.
Which is kind of insane to think about, right? They have not yet stumbled. But that may not be the case in the future, because the Neo, once the PlayStation Neo, like, all the information about it started leaking, it was like they're preparing to make a step forward in terms of the PlayStation 4's processing power, and it's going to be marketed as something that is living side by side with the old console, with the old PS4, right? Yeah. So I don't know how they're gonna play this up, because to a person that bought the PS4 at launch date, right? The whole thing about consoles is that you can have faith that any game that comes out for PS4 will work on your PS4, right? That's why it's different from a PC, because a PC, like, unless you have decent specs, you're probably not gonna have access to the majority of the games that are out on PC, or the most exciting things about the PC, right? So, like, for example, right now, if you saw a trailer for, the next Total War game, right, and you have a build that's up right now, you have a PC build right now, right, and you've had this PC for like 3 years, and you haven't changed anything about it, right? You're gonna have to question whether or not your GPU can handle it, whether your motherboard has enough, blah blah blah. So you're gonna question whether or not you can run it at full settings. Right.
And they don't release those spec sheets for their games until, like, the game's way down out.
Yeah, game's almost out.
So you have
Right?
to really wonder whether or not you should upgrade or not.
Yeah. But people will argue like, oh, if it's 3 years old, it's probably time to argue, or it's
Yeah,
probably
of
time to
course.
upgrade. Well,
But
okay,
then
I
again,
understand that.
that's that whole culture of PC
Yeah,
gaming,
that's a different
anyways.
culture in PC. But so the way it differs from console is that, like, let's say it's 2019 and they didn't come out with, or not 2000, maybe 2018, right? It's 2018. They haven't come out with a PlayStation Neo. If I saw a trailer that said PS4 on it, right? If I saw a trailer of Kingdom Hearts 3 and it said PS4, I can believe 100% that that's going to run on my PS4 that came out 2013,
Yeah, of course.
right? There's no reason for me to doubt it,
Hmm.
right? So that's the whole thing about a console, right? But now Sony seems to be like they're going to be changing it because the PS4 Neo, whatever the fuck's going to be called, it's going to divide the install base. Like, no matter how many times like the publisher says, like, you can't have anything that's different, or you can't have a game that's only running on the Neo. You can it has to run on both consoles,
Hmm.
right? No matter how many times you say that, there will come a point where a certain game can only run on PS4 Neo and not on the old console.
Yeah, that's such a scary thing to like imagine because it's like as soon as there's a divide in with a game that could take full advantage of something that Neo offers, but then the original PS4 doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That just your audience. You legit just split your audience like down the middle of
Yep.
the who have those consoles, and it's like, are you willing to like take that backlash? Because that I think that's completely different from like anything they've had before. Because
Yeah, it's very different.
because like it hasn't been done before. Like the closest thing we could like compare it to is the games that are multi-platform between like console and a PC, right? But most of the time for PC, it's like it doesn't run as well on PC because they most developers look at it as an afterthought.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very precarious time right now. On the other sides, on the other hand, Microsoft has actually taken advantage of all the Neo rumors, and came out with, not come out, but announced the Project Scorpio,
Yeah.
the next Xbox. I guarantee you, it's going to be the next Xbox. It's not going to be a version of the Xbox One, because from the specs that we were reading, and according to those that know more than me, these 6 teraflops or whatever the fuck it's going to be, it's a significant jump. It's a very significant jump. Whereas the PS4 Neo is an incremental increase in power. Neo is supposedly supposed to have a quantum leap,
Oh, what?
right? A quantum leap.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
a bigger leap, right?
Right.
So it's not going to be an incremental increase. So it's really interesting what both console makers are doing right now, because it's whatever Sony does. And by the way, they're gonna release something, or they're gonna have a press conference on September 7th, and they're gonna detail all this shit. Plus the newly leaked PlayStation 4 Slim, which looks kind of gross, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. You know what's funny about that one? They're taking out the optical port.
The optical port.
Yeah, so
What?
I'm not gonna be able to plug in my Astros.
That's really weird.
Yeah, but then again, I'm not gonna buy a fucking Slim.
Yeah, it's kind of there. Never go with rounded edges, man. They did that for pretty much all their slim like models except the PS2 one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get a Slim. I'm probably gonna get a Neo
Yeah, it
if it's
depends on whatever the fuck Neo is.
yeah,
You
because like
know?
if it makes if it makes VR work better with it, then I might just get it, because I think I'm throwing in my lot with, even though I'm about to have a fucking gigantic PC that's gonna be able to run everything at 4K.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be spending a lot of money on, even though I'm not too sure about Oculus and Vive, just because I don't think they have the game pipeline for it. The way
Yeah.
that not the way that Sony has.
And everybody right now that's gonna be copying onto VR, they're all gonna be early adopters. They're all gonna see the mistakes, all the rights and wrongs that VR is gonna be doing. So there's gonna be a lot of damage control during those times.
Yeah. But I think PSVR is the way to go for me, just because I tried it.
Yeah.
Well, I tried all 3 of the headsets. I tried PSVR at E3, and I actually have a funny story about that, and you were there. We played VR Rigs against Cisco.
Oh yeah.
Cisco, the guy who sang Thong Song.
Bonk, 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 bonk.
Yeah, that guy. We played against him and beat him.
It was funny too, because it's like it was like one of those moments where I knew who he was too. I like looked at him and I was all like, that dude looks fucking familiar, and then I looked again, I'm like, yo.
That's Cisco.
That's fucking Cisco. That's crazy.
Yeah, that E3 was crazy, man.
Yeah, that was a funny E3. Like, yeah, that was a really funny E3. I like that.
Yeah. Anyways, I tried PlayStation VR, and I think just with the catalog of games, I mean, it is a significantly weaker device compared to the Oculus and the Vive, because the screens on it have a lower resolution than the other VR headsets, with the Vive having the highest resolution. But the reason why I have so much faith with PSVR is because PSVR is going to have the backing of Sony. It's a major publisher, right?
Yeah.
Sony still to this day has the most first-party developers, and they're going to be cranking out VR games for the PSVR, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to be better served with the PlayStation VR, and it's more comfortable for me.
Yeah, like I just anything with like PlayStation and their VR is just like there's more. To me, it feels like there's more PlayStations capable of just having people buy the VR headset for a PlayStation than, you know, having, even though PC gaming is on a rise again, like a resurgence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell with like all the focus that it is having, especially with VR stuff. But like right now, PlayStation is like dominating the home consoles, and there's so many out there that it'd be so much easier for someone like just even wants to try out VR to just get out and get PlayStation VR.
They don't have to drop what I'm dropping. I'm dropping close to $1,500 on my setup, right? Not including the monitors and the keyboards and all that. Just for the rig itself, it's going to come close to $1,500, right? And add to the fact that if I decided to buy a VR headset, that's another $600 to $800 more, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at a total of close to $2,300, right? Close to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it this way, in order to have an Oculus experience, you're probably going to end up spending close to $1,600, $1,700, right?
Right.
In order to have a adequate VR experience with Oculus.
And one thing too, it's like not everybody is that comfortable with getting to know their PC on that level too. It's like it's like getting to actually know what your computer could do and not do. It's like people are just like, why can't my computer, fucking do this? Why is it slow as shit now?
It's a very complicated process.
Yeah.
And if you have the time for it and you're an enthusiast, more power to you. That's what you are interested in. But I'm talking about
the majority,
the construction worker dad that saw VR on TV or whatever he saw VR on. He wants to try it out. He's not going to drop $2,200 on a fucking setup.
Yeah,
right?
Especially when his son or daughter has a PlayStation 4 and he sees that there's an ad for a PlayStation VR. It's like, well, they have it, so might as well get one for them for their birthday, Christmas, whatever.
And it's $399. So the full experience with all the hidden costs of a PS4 plus the VR headset, right, doesn't even come close to the cost of Oculus experience.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like,
right?
I think VR just in general, it's like it's so early and it's so expensive, right? Like I can't see when like the prices will start dropping for PC VR.
Mhm.
but like PlayStation, like I think just like every other thing they've done, like PlayStation Move,
Mhm.
that's I can't even think of anything else they've done with that. Their cameras, like any accessories they've had, I have always like dropped in price, just like everything in the console market ends up like doing. So it's
Yeah.
like it's just gonna get cheaper, and it's gonna keep getting the experience are gonna get better if it catches on. Which VR is gonna it's the next big thing. And I remember there's an article that you wrote a while back that you wrote for what, Best Buy, or was
Mhm.
it Best Buy?
Best Buy. It was Best
And
Buy.
it just made sense to focus on VR as being the next step toward like video game immersion.
Yeah.
And not just like video game immersion, but just like immersion in terms of just
Media.
an experience of media. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Because I truly believe, like, all right, so let me preface this. A TV will never be replaced as a communal media consumption device,
Yeah,
right? So if you have multiple people over, you're not gonna have a fucking VR party. You're not gonna hook everybody up in a
right.
VR headset, and I mean, who knows? Maybe that'll happen. But I'm just saying, as realistically as possible, I don't think that's gonna happen. But what I think is gonna happen is that I think every bedroom, personal office space, whatever, everything that needs a screen, you're gonna you're gonna replace your TV or monitor with a VR headset. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. It, I can't like obviously no one can see the future and stuff, but like everyone thought, you know, like back then, like just how you said in your article that like new forms of to consume entertainment and media, they were crazy ideas because like, oh well, this is so famous, like why would we all want to switch over to this new one, right? And then
Mhm.
that new way of consuming media, right? Radio, television,
Mhm.
and then so on, so on. It's just like, no, man. Like if there's a new way to view stuff, and there's a huge backing in terms of like an audience and like developer support for it, like
Mhm.
it's gonna move in that direction no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
like there
Yeah.
you
Think
just
about it.
can't
Like
stop it.
how did newspapers get replaced? Right. Got replaced by radio news.
Mm-hmm.
Got faster to deliver news to you because of the radio. Right.
You know.
Then how do you expand? How do you expand on radio? Well, let's make it so that you can see it. There you go. Boom. TV. Right. TV is going to be replaced um, by a VR headset in the personal space,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily in the communal living room, stuff like that. I think that a TV is not going to be replaced in that way, right? Maybe a projector or maybe a hologram in the future, but that's sci-fi. At this point in time, I think it's sci-fi. But
Mm-hmm.
VR is coming in strong because the technology is there, and you can't really here's the problem with VR. You can't really the same way you couldn't advertise TV through radio, right? You
Yeah.
can't
Exactly.
explain what TV is through radio, or you can't explain the experience, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
experience the TV through radio the same way you can't experience VR through TV, right? And I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's the next step in you know media. I think Sony is really, really, really smart in getting on the ground floor in this and leading the charge and making it the most marketable product they can,
Mm-hmm.
or the most marketable VR product on the market, right? Because of reasons I stated earlier about Oculus and Vive. Um, and yeah.
Yeah, it's like one thing. Well, one last thing about the VR is just like with PlayStation using like being like in first, just like with VR, just like going in with as much product as they can with it. Like
Mhm.
everyone else that isn't gonna come out yet, they're gonna learn so much from PlayStation, right? Like PlayStation will learn, but everyone else around are gonna
Mhm.
see what people are reacting to positively and then negatively, and then
Yeah,
they
think
could
about what.
change. Like PlayStation to me right now, they got the balls to do this because where they're at with the
Yeah, and
console.
think about this way. Think about what Microsoft's going to do in retaliation to PSVR if it succeeds, right? because they're gonna come out with some version of the HoloLens or some kind of partnership with Oculus, and they're gonna make it. They're gonna compete, because once VR proves itself to be a cash crop, which I fully believe and 100% predict that it will be, right? Think about the competition that it's going to create and how much better things are going to be for the consumer, right? You're going to have more choices, right? I think it's the most exciting thing about VR is that when it evolves past video games, right? When it, like, I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about what if when VR comes to the point where it's out of just video games, right? It turns into virtual tourism, right? Let's say, in 2020 when NASA goes to Mars, right? They have a VR capable camera attached to one of the rovers, right? I've never been out of space, but if I put on a VR headset and I can actually look around and see what fucking Mars looks like and feel like I'm actually there, that's exciting. That's exciting not just as a consumer, but that's exciting as a human.
Exactly.
Right? And think about it, like, let's say, you're busy for me, like, let's say, I can't go to Kanye concert in Chicago, right? But what if there's a VR capable camera in the front row and only VIP, or not VIP, but like you pay a certain amount to attend the show as part of the VR initiative or whatever, right? And all of a sudden you're there, you can turn around and you hear the music and it's Kanye's concert, right? Or think about a tour of the White House, or a tour of a certain museum or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Virtual tourism, right? Like I've never been to Europe, but what if there's a VR application that lets me tour Amsterdam for a couple hours? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I'd pay for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it brings in like that whole idea of like tourism, VR tourism, just like brings this whole aspect of just being able to, just another step of trying something out, seeing if you're gonna like it, and then actually committing it later on. Like, even if you like don't plan on going there, it's still a cool idea. But even for people that would want to check out the journey that they're gonna take on and how it's gonna happen, and be able to do that with a VR headset, that's really fucking cool.
Yep. I think that it's just, if this is done correctly, and I feel like with the trajectory that Sony is going, I mean, God knows what they're gonna do with Neo and stuff like that, but with the trajectory that they're going right now, August 25th, 2016, I feel like we're on the right track. I feel like it's going to happen for the market. I think VR is going to be successful.
All right.
And I do think, here's the last thing. I think that Sony was scared shitless with the Project Scorpio, that I think the PS5 is going to be right around the corner as well. Because if you take a look, if you take a look at the pattern, last generation was a complete weirdo. It lasted for way longer than it should.
It did. It was pretty fucking long.
Yep. It lasted for close to 10 years.
Yeah, but we also, right? I think even with like that really long cycle, we got games that really you could see what the console was really capable of, too.
Yes, but it's just weird. You know what I mean? Right. Every console cycle has always been every 5 years, right? Since the 80s, you could say. Right? Every 5 years, there's been something, a new iteration. Yeah. Right? The 90s, I don't want to say the 80s, but like every 5 years has always been a new PlayStation, a new Xbox, right? And last year's it was a real hamper on developers, just because like they had to make games for. Imagine having to make games for the Xbox 360 and the PS3 in 2010 or 2012. 6-year-old, at that point, 8-year-old technology.
Right.
And have it out on PC as well. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it sucks. But PS5, I think, is right around the corner, and I think Project Scorpio. This is my official prediction. I think Project Scorpio is the next Xbox. It's not a version of the Xbox One.
Damn. Well, if it is, then I don't know. Like because like I grew up with the PS3 era, right? That's what I remember the most. The PS4 just feels like it's definitely a different console, and they've done a lot more. But the transition between PS3 and PS4 is it's like so seamless that I don't really see the difference that I had with like a PS2 and a PS3, right? Because I had that huge gap where I wasn't playing on PS3. So it feels weird to me to have it be that close, that short of a time. Like I'm not used to that, but I'm sure other people in that are used to it. They're expecting it, and they could make those predictions. But like to me, like it sounds so crazy. It's like, why is so fucking early? Like I just got my or I just got used to my PS4 type of situation.
The thing is, it's you got a PS4 in 2015.
Right. No, yeah, no, I definitely got it a lot like later. But so, again, it's still like in my head. It's just like even though I've played a shit ton of games already on my PS4, it still feels like a short time because even with the PS3, I got it 3 years after. I still had a huge chunk of time to play it, so it was like I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, the generation before this was the weirdo, but I get that like it's a lot of people's like baseline because like I say, that's what you grew up with, and that's what I grew up with as well. But if you just look at the trajectory in history, that one the previous generation is definitely the odd man out.
All right, so shit, I think we're just gonna stop it right there. We hit the 1 hour mark right there.
Boom. Professional.
It was PlayStation Nation Hour with Fonzie and Sid. We love our PlayStations. Sid definitely loves PlayStation. Dude has a tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I have a tattoo on my arm.
If you enjoyed the podcast, if you have any experiences you want to share with us or any predictions you think where both Xbox and PlayStation are gonna go in the future, or any discussions you have about VR, you could have in the comments. We'll be there. You know, if any of you guys 100%. Want to talk. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one.
Peace.